going on, fighters? This is K9C here with the TNF podcast. I'm Shamaro.
I'm Wolfpack.
I'm Farrell.
And we'd like to welcome you guys back to the show. And we have quite a lot of news to go over. First off, we would like to give a huge apology because our last episode we did not get our own little moment of silence for Mr. Akira Toriyama, who did pass away recently due to a boycott, unfortunately. So we will give a moment of silence for him because he did a lot for just media in general, as well as just the Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest and all those other games that have been made into fighting games and other types of games. So a moment of silence for Mr. Toriyama. And there we go. He was the absolute legend, and our thoughts go out to his friends and family who, it's tragic, but his legacy will live on, and we will persevere.
Rest in eternal peace, Toriyama. Well, with that out of the way, I think that's the only appropriate way we could have gone through with that, was to get that out of the way first. Oh man.
No doubt.
Whew.
Anyway, Wolf, next up we have some big stuff to discuss because just this past weekend we had the SNK World Finals.
Yes, we did, and oh my goodness, for those who were able to watch, what a treat. If not, don't worry about it. The stream should still be up on YouTube and on Twitch. Just head over to SNK's official channels on those respective platforms. You'll be able to find the streams from both day 1 and day 2. And if you were extra curious, why not check out the last chance qualifiers as well? But yeah, wow, what a weekend, man. What a weekend.
Indeed. It was a stacked roster of fighters who have been around the KOF scene for a while. We had guys like Xiao Hai, we had Pineapple, we had Score, who is a big guy from Japan who made his way through the brackets. And then we also had M Dash, who was and our now champion.
Don't tell me you already forgot who the champion was.
I just forgot his name for a second there. I do apologize. Lagia.
Yes.
Lagia is our new KOF 15 champion. He put on all the fighters in those top 8 put on a great show. We had a good cast of recurring characters in the team, such as Geese, such as
who
else do we have? Who else do we have there? We had Geese, we had Rio, and oh my gosh, Benny Maru showed up so many times in so many teams. He was like a linchpin for a lot of teams.
You got that right. We also saw a little bit of Chizuru in there from time to time. Mai Shiranui got some action earlier on. Athena, there were Rugal as well, got some action in the tournament.
Yep.
But
I know that Soda, the one female combatant that we saw in the tournament, she was rocking regular Chris pretty well.
There you go. Yeah, it's just, oh my goodness. I don't think I have ever witnessed a tournament quite as intense as what we got for the SNK World Championships this past weekend. Oh my lord!
Yeah, it was absolutely nuts. Like, we had so many upsets. We had so many just crazy comebacks, and oh my gosh, I think my favorite moment, you didn't see this, Wolf, but me and Pharaoh did when we were watching, was just the absolute disrespect that in the top 16 with the last in the losers bracket, it was, let me see my notes who it was. Oh yes, it was one of the Mexican combatants who dominated throughout the losers bracket in the top 16. who is Cofero
There we
Honesto.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, Honesto. Oh my gosh, I think probably my favorite thing was when he and his opponent were down to like their second characters, and he had such a health lead that he like literally like he was almost up to full health. His opponent was down to like almost nothing, and he was so ballsy. He just started teabagging like crazy on this guy. Like
Oh,
it
good
like just
lord.
the absolute disrespect and the absolute balls in this man was absolutely nuts.
You know
And yeah,
what?
yeah, it was just nuts.
Oh,
But for good reason because like the bomb of the top eights got dominated by the Mexicans and the Peru and the Peru contestants. So repping the Spaniards there.
yep. But I should probably point out that I think that came back and bit Cofero in the ass because he ended up finishing seventh at the end of it all. He made it into the top eight, but ended up getting eliminated very early on. So
He did,
yeah, and
and
actually
that
speaking of competitors in the top 16, both of the players who advanced from the last chance qualifiers, both of them made it into the top 16. Paco was the winner of the last chance qualifier. Score was the runner up. And in terms of where they placed, Paco finished just outside of the top 8. He ended up finishing ninth. Meanwhile, Score was just one shy of a podium finish, coming up in fourth to Shanghai.
Yeah, he was at Score was absolutely a beast like he just was on a tear through the losers bracket all throughout. Like he was a giant killer essentially. He took out Pineapple, who was like a juggernaut when it
Oh,
came to the
yeah.
losers bracket. It was absolutely nuts.
That was a
But
thrilling
yeah,
matchup.
yeah, it was crazy. And meanwhile, in the winners bracket, we had the crazy rivalry between M Dash and Xiao Hai. Xiao Hai was like on absolute tear himself throughout that entire winners bracket and just the top 16 in general. And then it was only M Dash who finally managed to crack his armor and managed to bump him down to the finals of the losers bracket
Yep.
after the winners finals. And then like it was yeah, M Dash put on quite a good show himself. He showed great dominance, but then like it like there's just been so many times in this past year where we've had tournaments where the first round of the winners bracket of the top eight, one person gets chucked down to the losers bracket and then just works the way back up to then meet the same guy that
Yep.
tossed him down there into the grand finals. Only difference is unlike the Tekken and Street Fighter tournaments that we talked about before. This time the redemption arc of the guy who got tossed in the losers bracket, in this case Lagia, actually did beat the winner's final winner and took the grand finals,
There you
which was
go.
absolutely incredible to see. And it was down to such a tight match. Like first of all, you had
Yep.
Lagia putting in the work. He just dominated the first three rounds with three really solid wins to reset the bracket,
Yep.
and then it was just back and forth between him and M Dash. And oh my gosh, the level of play that was on display there was absolutely crazy. And you know what? Just in my personal opinion, I think this the hype, the absolute hype that I got from this tournament definitely outclasses the hype that I got from the Capcom Cup X tournament.
Really? Well, color me
That just
surprised. Oh my gosh.
that's just my personal opinion. Like obviously the Tekken and 7 tournaments, the final Tekken 7 tournament and the 2023, that obviously is still up top in terms of hype levels. But I think the KOF 15 Grand Finals for SNK this year definitely took second place for me.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. I completely respect that. I mean, in all honesty, all the tournaments that we've covered up to this point this year have all been just ridiculous amounts of insanity, but well, the good kind of insanity. And it just goes to show, going pro, it's no joke, man. It is no joke. You see just how hard these guys and gals have to grind to even get onto a stage as big as the World Championships.
Indeed, it's absolutely nuts. And again, like even though Capcom Cup X had their cash prize and the KOF tournament only had like 50 grand on the line, there was still like an even bigger amount of dedication for these players that we saw
For sure,
in this past
yeah.
tournament.
And actually, speaking of tournaments, we do have an update in terms of upcoming tournaments that we're going to be covering. You did mention Tekken earlier. There is actually a whole bunch of tournaments going down specifically this weekend, but we're only going to be focusing on two specific ones. So first up is the ARC World Tour 2023 Finals. We are going to be seeing the very best for both Under Night In Birth 2 and Guilty Gear Strive. So
indeed, well, that will be an absolute treat to watch.
Yep, that's going to be going down on March 23rd. So that is going to be this Saturday coming up. The prize pool for the Under Night In Birth 2 tournament is $30,000. The prize pool for Guilty Gear is going to be $100,000. We'll have 8 of the top players in the Under Night tournament, 16 of the best for Guilty Gear. Both tournaments going down in Long Beach, California. The last chance qualifiers for both games are going to be earlier, though. Specifically for Guilty Gear, it's going to be on the 21st, so that is this Thursday coming up. So just only a few days from now. Whereas with Under Night In Birth 2, their last chance qualifier is going to be on Friday, March 22nd, and happening at the same time. You mentioned Tekken earlier. Well, guess what? PAX East Arena 2024 is going down in Boston, Massachusetts. The Spotlight game, Tekken 8. So we have some really big tournaments going on there. Keep in mind, it's a smaller prize pool. It's only going to be about $10,000. But if you guys have not seen any Tekken 8 tournaments yet, PAX East 2024, that's going to be the one that you guys are going to want to watch.
Indeed. So we will do our best to cover these tournaments as best we can. We can't promise we'll get to everything, but we will definitely give you guys as much as possible.
Yep. And just one more update here. We know that the during the first week of April, so that's only a few weeks away now, Slashback is going to be live from San Jose, California. We have 7 different games that are being showcased. Unfortunately, I will not be available to cover Slashback due to the fact that during that very same weekend, I will be out in Philadelphia for WrestleMania 40. So, Shamaro and Pharaoh will be taking over duties of covering the tournament. Obviously, for Shamaro, that's nothing new, considering that he and I have already covered all the tournaments we've spoken about before. But yeah, unfortunately, this will be the first tournament I actually will not be available to watch. But don't you worry, once I'm back from Philly, oh man, all the juicy details are going to be, it's going to be crazy. I'm just going to leave it at that.
And speaking of which, Wolf, which of the tournaments can the audience look forward to us covering? For this one?
I'm very glad you asked. Guilty Gear XX. We've got Guilty Gear Zerd Sign, BlazBlue Central Fiction, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Under Night In Birth 2, and Guilty Gear Strive. So, interestingly enough, nearly half of all the tournaments are Guilty Gear tournaments. So, if you're a Guilty Gear junkie, you are going to specifically want to tune into those 3 tournaments.
Yes, and while we probably won't be able to cover all the tournaments, we will definitely be tuning into Strive. We'll definitely be tuning into Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, as well as our Night in Birth 2. And, of course, we cannot forget...
Yes. BlazBlue Central Fiction. Yes.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
cannot forget that one.
Yeah. Figured you would want to announce that one yourself, Wolf.
Yeah, no worries.
Anyway, so look forward to these upcoming tournaments, and we will keep you guys updated as we go.
Yep.
Anyway, moving into news. So this little tidbit of news kind of crept up on us a little bit. I just found out recently, just because my game updated recently on my Switch, and I was wondering what the heck is this, and then I go into DNF Duel and find out that they apparently released a brand new character without us even realizing it. They have now added in another brawler to the game. This time is the Monk.
Oh, wow. This is going to be good. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and I gotta say, this guy is, I tried him out in practice mode, and he is fun to play with. He, his magic, back and forth motion, back and forth moves is basically just, a back dash and a forward dash.
Oh, wow.
So he is made for, rushing down and getting in your face, and then, most of his medium and heavies and other magic type moves, they are basically all a bunch of heavy hitting punches. So
oh gosh,
for those of you who like to throw heavy hits, but also like to be able to get into your opponent's face real fast, the Monk will definitely be the character for you.
All right, so we got a brand new character, just released, and my goodness, I'm not going to be surprised if a lot of people end up choosing the Monk when you go into online battles. I'm not going to be that surprised.
Indeed, and by the looks of the spots of the empty spots in the roster, we probably will have at least one more DLC character for this game before our System Works decides to move on. So I can't confirm that, but based off of the evidence, I would say we have a pretty good chance of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Wolf, I believe you have some new SF6. Well, it's not really news at this point, but let's just talk about it anyway. The
yes.
trailer.
Yep, we officially got, courtesy of Capcom, we finally have an official reveal trailer for the one and only Akuma. And oh my goodness, I have no words for this. I have absolutely no words. I was left speechless thanks to the reveal trailer that we got for Akuma.
Indeed. And I gotta say,
God.
Even though I had doubts about his new hair color, when we first saw the concept art, this trailer actually makes it look okay to me. I think it's growing on me a bit.
Yeah, it's actually not that bad at all now. And it's starting to grow a little on me as well. I can tell for sure that they'll add in his legacy outfit from previous games. So for those who don't like the white hair, thankfully the legacy costume will probably be made available. But yeah, just the fact that Akuma is back and he's looking better than ever at this point, it's insane. And it is confirmed that he is going to be releasing sometime this spring. So anywhere between now and probably the end of May is when we're likely going to be getting Akuma. My guess, or at least my prediction anyway, probably not going to happen, but I'm looking maybe late April, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good guess. But yeah, either way, we are looking forward to being able to play as him again. And the real question I want to know is, what do you think they would do for his third outfit?
Oh boy, that's a really good question actually, because for our legacy characters, everyone's third outfit, it's all based on, it's either completely original or it's based off of previous pieces of work for Street Fighter. So as far as Akuma's third outfit, honestly, I'm not too sure. But I guess maybe like a rework of his default from SF5, perhaps? I honestly, I don't know what they could possibly end up doing for his third outfit. Either that, or maybe they make an outfit that has him look kind of like some otherworldly entity. Something like that, maybe. I have no clue.
Yeah, either that or they might do like an homage to his appearance in Tekken 7 and make him look like Kazuya, for all we know.
That is true, but then again, that goes back to the fact that his inclusion in Tekken 7 pretty much used a slightly altered version of his legacy outfit. But nonetheless, it would be pretty cool to see what would happen there. So, yes, if you guys haven't already seen the trailer, I mean, it's kind of hard to have not already seen it now. Feel free to go and check it out on Capcom and Street Fighter's social media handles, also on YouTube, so be sure to check it out. And yeah, arriving this spring, the final character for the Season 1 Character Pass.
Indeed, that'll be quite interesting. Moving on to other new characters and other fighting games. Despite Warner Brothers doing their damnedest to basically just destroy all the good series that we come to love, MK1 is still going strong, and they apparently have a new cameo. So, Wolf, what's the details there?
Yeah, well, this has been a very divisive decision, and actually I can't even find the post for it anymore on Twitter. It's been taken down, but it is confirmed that our next cameo character for Mortal Kombat 1 is a variant of Johnny Cage going by the name Janet Cage. Now, here's the thing. Originally Johnny Cage was supposed to get a cameo slot. So that's why people are so freaked out about it. They wanted cameo Johnny Cage, and instead, I'm not offended by it. A lot of people are, though. They ended up choosing a variant that gets very little screen time in the story mode. You only see her for maybe 5 seconds during the final chapter of the story mode. But yeah, Janet Cage is the newest cameo, I should say. She's going to be coming out on early access March 27th. So that is not too far away from right now. That is actually going to be next Wednesday. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Janet Cage launches for MK1. It'll be interesting to see how things go there.
Indeed. And going from new characters to returning games, also under WB's umbrella, Wolf, I believe you finally have a confirmed release date for Multiverses.
Indeed. Happening. For those who have not heard, yes, finally, Warner Brothers has given us the answer. Multiverses is coming back. It is relaunching on May 28th. Now, whether this is going to be a relaunch of the beta version or if it's going to be the actual launch of the full game itself, I don't know. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's definitely good news, especially considering the fact that, again, as we covered in our last episode, the open beta servers had been shut down for roughly about a year. So the fact that Multiverses is coming back and stronger than ever, it's probably not going to be long before we see Multiverses once again appearing in some of the biggest fighting game tournaments in the world.
Yeah, and like we've been saying for the last several episodes now, this is kind of the year for platform fighters to have their big renaissance. So, this is perfect timing on WB's part.
There you go. And you know what? I'm calling it now. If everything goes according to plan for Multiverses, we could very well be seeing it at EVO next year. Whether that be EVO Japan or EVO North America or both, I'm going to call it right now. All goes well, I can see Multiverses being showcased at EVO next year.
Okay, we'll see if your prediction comes true then, Wolf. Yeah, so that's our news segment, guys. Look forward to all these upcoming bits of awesomeness that's coming your way. Moving on, so we have an interesting indie spotlight for you guys, and this is one fighting game that I just came across while looking for more indie fighters to round out our roster for the YouTube channel whenever we get that back up and running.
Yeah.
And this is a very interesting formula that I found. Thanks a lot to I Dream of Indie Games on YouTube. These guys have been great at giving me, like, their videos cover a whole bunch of indie games, and it's actually in one of their older videos that I found this fighting game. It is Tauhao Hayoibana Antinomy of Common Flowers. I know I butchered that name so badly. I apologize. But yes, this is, if you guys have heard of the Tauhao project, you probably know it because they're bullet hell and RPG Maker games. You know, this series has been all over the place for the last, like, at least the last decade or so. But yeah, they apparently have a fighting game, and it is interesting to say the least. It's a tag team fighter, so you can tag your opponents in and out. There's a great little risk and reward system with that, apparently. According to the review I saw from My Dream of Indie Games, basically how it works is that if one character loses health, you'll have some white health you can make back by switching out to your other character, but in return, that other character will lose some of their magic bar, which I think is a really interesting way to, like, really give a good risk and reward system to, like, swapping out between characters. Because usually in these kind of team games, like, all you gotta do is switch out, and you get whatever temporary life back, and then there's no real penalty for that. You can just go back and forth as much as you want. This way, players actually have to really think about it. So I think that's an interesting way to go about it.
That is pretty cool, actually, and I do like the fact that they added in the idea of, like, regaining health and stuff like that. Like, we've already seen that utilized in interesting ways with more high-profile titles. Like, I know Street Fighter 6 implemented it, and Tekken 8 also implemented it. But
Dragon Ball FighterZ also did it their way too. So
yep.
Yeah, we've seen a bunch of fighting games do this.
Yeah, but I do have to ask, though, is there anything about the usage of this mechanic that makes this game stand out from the rest of the field?
I mean, again, like, usually in those other games where you can regain health just by swapping out characters, like, there's no penalty for that. Here, like, you know, you're switching into a fresh character, but that fresh character will be weakened because you're trying to gain the health of the other character back. You know, it's really a matter of, it's not just a swapping out. It's really one character supporting the other and being that other character's shield while they heal. So it's like basically like the teams are a lot more involved, I think, is a good way to put it with this game.
Okay, yeah, that absolutely seems fair. I can totally see that happening there.
Indeed. And the two other major things, like, I mean, first of all, it wouldn't be a Tao game if there wasn't some sort of bullet helly element to it. So you can definitely look forward to a bunch of the special and super attacks either being really, like, just swarms of bullets or just, like, screen covering beams. It's definitely a very flashy and epic kind of fighter, and even more, unlike other typical fighting games, instead of fighting on the ground, you are constantly floating. So you have basically an 8-dimensional space to work with here.
What? Oh boy.
I mean, granted, it's still 2D plane, but, you know, 8 directions to just move around. Like, not even jump, not even just look around. It's just 8 directions to move in general.
Wow.
So yeah, like I said, it really leans into the whole, like, Tauhao's history of bullet hell shooters, where you can just have, like, all that omnidirectional movement.
Good Lord, that is, wow. That is something. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it looks like a great game, and I know it's on the Switch, so I'm definitely going to be picking that up at some point, and we'll definitely have to try that out.
All right.
But yeah, like this is definitely an interesting game. It's got a good solid cast of like 19 characters, and I cannot wait to try it out with you guys.
Not bad. That's pretty freaking cool. That sounds absolutely amazing. I love that.
Indeed. Anyway, we'll move on. Discussion time.
Yep. So today we are going to be talking about our favorite boss characters slash antagonists. And I'm actually very curious to see who everyone chooses actually for this. I'm very, very curious.
So, Pharaoh, what about you?
Okay, admittedly, I had nothing planned for this, but on the fly, I'd have to say Shao Kahn, simply because he was the first fighting game villain that I've actually ever bought. Right? Mortal Kombat was
There you
fighting
go.
games like there, right?
Yep. MK9, you never forget your first, right? You know, to be fair, like it's kind of hard not to say that Shao Kahn is your favorite like final boss, especially when it comes to Mortal Kombat, because even though we've had very interesting final bosses over the years, from Shang Tsung obviously to Shao Kahn, Shinnok, Kronika, like there's been so many, but it's like for some reason, like Shao Kahn, sorry, not Quan Chi, Shao Kahn somehow he just stands out from the rest because it's like you got all these gimmicky things with Shang Tsung, Shinnok, and Kronika. Meanwhile, Shao Kahn's just a hulking tower of meat that wields a friggin' sledgehammer. Like, bro. So I can.
Plus the fact that you can't grab him.
That's true. Yes, that is very true. Especially, specifically in MK9, you were not able to do that because somehow he's got friggin' armor on him, and every time you would do that, you would get knocked down, and Shao Kahn would automatically taunt at you. So it's like, and on top of that, it's a war of attrition when you're fighting Shao Kahn, because especially in MK9, because Lord knows that I have raged quite a bit when fighting Shao Kahn. Not to the point where I feel like I could throw my controller up against the wall, but I've raged quite a bit because there's just so many things that Shao Kahn can get you with. If you're a close range, he can get you with the sledgehammer. He can close the distance quickly with his shoulder charge. Then you got like his friggin' energy javelins, which take off a decent amount of health. So literally you have to zone non-stop, and like it's not gonna work if you're using characters that primarily fight at close range, like say Liu Kang, for instance. I mean, yes, you could utilize his fireballs and his flying dragon kick, but it's like for that, it takes up a lot of time to try and back away to a certain distance in order to line up those attacks. Because at any point in time, Shao Kahn can come in and just ruin your plan. Just be a total dick to you. So it's a mind fuck for sure, but hell, it's satisfying when you can actually beat Shao Kahn and MK9. Wouldn't you agree, Pharaoh?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Oh.
100%.
Yeah, that's a good choice though. I like that. Shamaro, what about you? Who would you consider to be your favorite boss character?
So for me, I actually have a tie for this top spot. It goes down between the boss that I felt the greatest satisfaction after beating, after trying for so many times to actually get one up on, and then there is the boss that I think was very very much a joy to fight. As far as the boss that just gave me so much hell, and I don't really rage. I more just quietly simmer, and I just analyze and just I just basically go into final form after final form to until I actually beat the dang boss. But it would probably have to be like my favorite is in terms of like satisfaction of finally being a boss would have to be Marie from Skullgirls. Oh my gosh, that girl, like and I cannot wait to see how they actually implement her as an actual fighter in the game later on. But yeah, her as a boss, absolutely crazy. Like I've said how she works a lot in the show before. Basically, she's got the giant skeletal body in her first phase, and then it basically just shoots out all of these skeletal heads that just shoot forward at like rockets. And then of course you
Jesus.
got her second and third phases where she basically throws out like shadow combatants to do different moves that basically cover parts of the screen. And yeah, like I have gone through many attempts to try to beat her on my first like when I was first starting out with Skullgirls, and I was even using Philia, who is like the best Shota out of that game, and it took freaking forever. But I finally beat her, but it took freaking forever, and that's it. And that's not even counting. Oh gosh, I forget her. It's been so long since I've played Skullgirls, but the character who is like the Egyptian cat goddess. I don't know if her actual name is Bast or what it is, but yeah, her. I played through her storyline, and she's even crazier with facing Maria, because like not only do you have to face Marie and defeat her like you normally would, but then you fall into another arena immediately after in the same match, and then you have to face off against the Mimic character.
Oh wow.
Yeah. She like she was just an endurance run to get through for her storyline. And honestly, like the only reason I really got out of that was because I knew like this one like low kick move of hers that I could just cheese out most of the time. So yeah, like definitely the final boss in Skullgirls, definitely my favorite in terms of like just satisfaction of finally beating. But in terms of like the actual fun of a fight, I would have to get that to Master Hand and Crazy Hand in the Smash Bros. Series. Like
Ah.
their attacks are just fun. Like it's like sure, like they're annoying when you get hit, but it's not like really just devastating when you do get hit. And it's just fun to like dodge and weave between their attacks. Like you have one of the hands that does like the lasers with their fingers. You have one that
Oh yeah.
like goes into a drill and then comes down as a drill. You got punches. You got finger guns. You got like honestly, Sakurai just had so much fun training those two bosses, and I can't help but love them too.
It certainly shows, that's for sure. Okay, now with mine, I'm going way out left field here. And
Okay.
I would have to say, ironically enough, probably my favorite boss character would have to be Shinryu, from the Dissidia Final Fantasy games. And for this one, I'm specifically talking about Dissidia NT, which as an arcade game released in Japan exclusively all the way back in 2015. It got a PS4 port in 2018. So Shinryu's been around for a little bit, and actually, before I get into talking about Shinryu, for those who don't know, the original Dissidia Final Fantasy entries are actually all of the entries are arena brawlers, but they're a little bit different. The original titles for the PSP and PS Vita combined 1v1 arena brawler with RPG elements. So it's technically like going from Final Fantasy into Soul Calibur, for instance. So that's pretty much how that works. Dissidia NT removes the majority of the RPG elements and also expanded the arena brawler format so that you could go 3-on-3. But you can also still do the traditional 1v1 from the previous games, and you can also do 2-on-2s along with handicap matches. So 1v2 and 2v3. So I know it's a mouthful.
Interesting.
It's a mouthful. And there are actually two specific kinds of attacks. This is extremely important. So you have your bravery attacks and your HP attacks. So bravery is basically how much damage you're going to deal. So let's say, for example, I'll use the original Dissidia game for reference. So let's say it's going to be the iconic Cloud versus Sephiroth, and Cloud starts off with, let's say, 1,000 bravery. If he were to launch an HP attack right away, that would deal 1,000 damage to Sephiroth. So there's pretty much that. But the reason why Shinryu strikes me as a favorite is because of the difficulty levels, surprisingly. Shinryu is probably the toughest boss character you have to fight throughout the story mode. All the summons that Final Fantasy fans are familiar with, Ifrit, Shiva, Leviathan, Rama, stuff like that, they're all considered boss characters in Dissidia NT. And Shinryu is the toughest of them all. So, as per usual, there's 2 phases to the final battle. Right off the bat, Shinryu will unleash an HP attack. He'll unleash Tidal Wave, so you basically have to dash to the side immediately in order to avoid taking HP damage. And he starts out with like an absurd amount of bravery. I'm pretty sure it's got to be like, I don't know, 2,000 or something, which is pretty good considering the fact that your characters by default, I believe, receive about 2,500 HP. Either that or 3,000 HP. I can't remember. But yeah, immediately starts off with a huge HP attack, then goes and switches up to your bravery attacks for a little bit. And here's another thing that makes it even more difficult. You will receive debuffs during the match. So there will be debuffs that will deplete your dash gauge or deplete your bravery altogether. Probably the most dangerous debuff you can receive is Doom. Now, this one makes it especially challenging because in the Final Fantasy franchise, in the mainline numerical entries, Doom is basically instant death. So the way that they change it so that it's not game breaking is that instead of it being instant death in Dissidia NT, once the timer hits 0, it just saps all your bravery away instantly. So let's say you've been building up and you probably have maybe about 7,500 bravery. By the time that Doom clock hits 0, all that's gone immediately.
Dang.
Just like that. And another thing to know is that everything ramps up exponentially when the boss gets to half health. So phase 1 for Shinryu has 30,000 HP. So once you get it down to 15,000, that's when things start getting hectic. But it's not until you get to the second form where shit really starts to get real. So in phase 2, Shinryu remains in a stationary position at the edge of the arena. So already that's bad news right there. And from there, it's just, you just gotta dodge frantically, build up your HP, build up your bravery, and unleash HP attacks once you can stagger Shinryu. The problem is that all of his attacks become even stronger in this second phase, and probably the one you will fear the most is Trinity, which actually casts 3 summon attacks in succession. So,
wow.
Yeah. So you got Judgment Bolt, which is Rama's ultimate move, Diamond Dust, which is Shiva's ultimate move, and Hellfire, which is Ifrit's ultimate move. So one
That's
after the
nuts.
other. Yeah. It's crazy. And yes, Shinryu in his second phase has 40,000 HP, but he does not become immune to HP damage at half health, unlike other bosses, because the way that works is basically you get the boss down to half HP, and for maybe about 5-10 seconds, it becomes completely immune to all HP attacks. So you don't get that with phase 2 for Shinryu, but god damn, it's an excruciatingly long match. A war of attrition as per usual, but just like turn it up to 10. That's all I can really say about that. I know I'm kind of flying off the handle here, rambling and whatnot, so I apologize, but yeah, I simply love Shinryu as a final boss because of how challenging he is to beat. Unlike, other boss characters where there's like multiple loopholes in their strategies and whatnot, Shinryu's it's a little more, I don't know how to say it, but once you learn the patterns, then it becomes a little bit easier. But he's still a bitch to handle.
Honestly, I think the most surprising thing to me though is the fact that we have a Final Fantasy boss with only 2 phases.
Yeah, that's a good point, but to be fair, it's the only boss character in this game that has a second phase. All the other summons, they only have one. So
wow.
that's
even more surprising to me.
Yeah, that's what makes Shinryu stand out from the rest of the boss characters in NT. That's for sure. But yeah, that would pretty much be my favorite boss character. So with that,
cool.
we still have quite a bit of time, which is great. Let's dive into our dream rosters then. And actually, hang on. Okay, got it. Sorry, I was just checking something there. With that said, yeah, let's dive into our dream rosters. So, Shamaro, what do you got on tap for us this week?
So, for this week, also in memory of Toriyama, I thought, why not do a fighting game of one of his beloved RPG series? That would be Dragon Quest. Specifically, I'm going into the Dragon Quest Adventures of Dai.
Ooh.
Which many of you know who might be Dragon Quest fans, though, that it was basically like the game that got quite a few spin-offs, both in mobile and also there were a bunch of games like for consoles, and also it's got its own anime that's I think is already finished up, but is it's definitely got the Toriyama flair in it, both in the art direction and just in how the battles played out. But yeah, like in the mainline Dragon Quest games, of course, it's mostly like either like open world RPG, and then for the Adventures of Dai kind of game that gets the anime, it was kind of an arena fighter, but more of a Warriors type style game. So, but I think we got enough here to work with to also make this like a 2D fighter. Like I can definitely see Dai, Pop, and Man being hanging in there as the main 3. You got you can bring in legacy characters like Yunko as one of the previous heroes. You can bring in all of those crazy villains. Like we had that one crocodile villain who was like the master of beasts. We had that fire and ice guy, and then of course we had the multiple demon lords who threatened the world. And of course you can't forget Dai's father, who was like the other dragonborn type chosen one there. So yeah, like lots of potential here. Like I don't really see this being too gimmicky. I think I could just see it being a good fundamental flashy anime fighting game where like you just have a lot of fun. And of course like even though I do say there will be no gimmicks, I can still see maybe taking the spell system from the use in Smash Bros for the Dragon Quest heroes and implementing that here, because let's face it, like the funny sounding spells that they put in here, where basically you just tack on more syllables to the spell to make it more powerful. It like that's always been a fun aspect of Dragon Quest for me, and I would love to see that in a 2D anime fighting game. So yeah, so that's me. I think there should have to be a Dragon Quest Adventures of Dai fighting game.
That sounds friggin' amazing, dude. Honestly, I I think that that would work so well, especially given the potential that it has for it, and seeing what we've seen in Smash Ultimate with our Dragon Quest protagonists. Yeah, I could absolutely see that working. That sounds friggin' fantastic.
Indeed, like I can definitely see it playing a lot like Dragon Ball Fighters, but instead of like being mostly like hand to hand, like there still would be hand to hand, but it would also be like very much more balanced with both melee and spell based rage attacks.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that makes it even more enticing, man.
Indeed. So that's mine. Wolf, what about you? What's your dream roster for this week?
For me, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. I know next to nothing about the franchise that my idea is based on, but I'm thinking like world powers. So like physical manifestations of countries fighting one another. It would be maybe something similar to the Hetalia franchise,
Oh yeah.
so to speak. I'm not entirely sure how, like, I'm not too sure how it would play, but I could kind of see this being like, I guess like a 2.5 dimensional fighter, something like that, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, I don't necessarily think a platformer would fit that kind of thing,
Probably
but
not. But
yeah,
you know,
probably
like yeah,
not.
like 2.5D, I could definitely see it, and of course, like it could also either be like a 3D arena fighter or just a 2D fighting game. But I mean, like as far as how it could play, like you could just have all the characters that represent the countries just be very stereotypical and have attacks that are based off of like their famous parts of their history. Like
That's a
I
good
mean, for
point,
Germans,
actually.
I mean, for just for the Germans, have a Panzer tank, or for the French, for French, just have them throw croissants and do the let them eat cake line or something. I don't know.
Oh my god, yeah, that could definitely work. I guess in a way, I could kind of style it off of Mortal Kombat in the sense of the fact that everyone is just like ridiculously over the top and have these crazy moves. So, like in that sense, it wouldn't be like dark and gritty or anything, but just taking from how wacky yet how diverse the rosters have been for Mortal Kombat over the years, I think I could certainly draw some inspiration from that when trying to put together the whole roster for this particular idea. So, Canada, obviously, United States, France, Spain, probably Russia, China, Japan, Germany, Brazil,
Mexico.
yep, Mexico as well. I wouldn't go like full blown like nearly 200 plus. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I guess I would probably, I don't know, base roster could maybe be, I would want to say maybe, oh lord. This is one
I
of the
feel like you should
hardest
at
things to
least
come up
put like
with.
I mean I feel like you should have at least some countries from like the southern hemisphere. So at least put Brazil and Australia in there too.
Oh yeah, definitely. They would both be in there. Um but I guess you know what? Let's say why not, yeah, why not like 15 to start and then just build from there? And I'm thinking perhaps the final roster could probably have like 60 altogether. I think that sounds, I think it sounds appropriate starting off with 15 and then building up to 60.
Yep,
It kind of it works.
that sounds about right.
So, yeah, that would pretty much be that would pretty much be my dream roster essentially.
Cool, cool. Pharaoh, what about you?
Uh, Honestly, I don't really have anything this week. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's
It's
all
all
right.
good. For those who are wondering, Pharaoh's just been having he's been having an iffy day. Not going to go into details. Obviously, those aren't important. The only thing that matters is that not really having a good day, so just kind of cut him some slack on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, with that said, that's pretty much going to wrap things up for this episode. Already, just last week, celebrating a milestone, 10 episodes in. We're now 11 episodes in. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Can't friggin' believe it. This is crazy, but we are not stopping anytime soon, I'll tell you that. I mean, technically speaking, we're not stopping anytime soon. Yes, there will be breaks and stuff like that, but you guys know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, and we'll keep you guys listening up to date on when we're not gonna have episodes for whatever weeks because of, you know, extenuating circumstances like family or friends or just, you know, natural disasters. Like you know the drill. Like this is how it goes for all media shows.
Exactly. So, in conclusion, thank you once again to everyone who tuned in to this episode, as well as everyone who tuned in last week, the week before that. You guys know the drill. Keep on supporting us. Tell your friends, tell your family members, tell your significant other if they're into fighting games. And heck, for all we know, maybe your cat or your dog can listen in as well, or whatever kind of pet that you have. I mean, why not, right?
Parrots, bring the parrots. They would probably love to listen to all the lines that we quote from playing games.
If anyone does have a parrot though, please don't have them copying the swear words that we say on here. That's not we don't condone that.
Yes, but please do see if your parrot can if you have a parrot, please do try to make them say Hadouken at least once.
Yes, we'll be extremely proud of you if you can.
Post a reaction video with your parrot saying Hadouken if you can.
Oh
man,
we
would absolutely love to see that.
That would be epic. But yeah, continue to support us in any way that you guys can. Episodes will be going up onto our YouTube channel, hopefully within the next few weeks or so that we have an additional platform. We understand that not everyone listens on Podbean, so we are going to begin expanding our platform usage over the coming weeks. And so that way, you know, obviously we can attract more listeners, continue to grow the podcast, and yeah, go from there. Lots of badass things awaiting. So
cool.
To wrap it all up, this is Wolfpack.
This is Chamorro.
And this is Arrow.
Everyone, stay safe. Have a good one. For those living in the GTA, bundle up. This week is going to be a cold one. And most importantly, fight on.
Fight on.
We'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Have a good one.